Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up? MCR family. Another weekly edition of the show live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Hit the like button, share the show, all that fun stuff. Unfortunately, Gary had to leave the great state of California. I say that facetiously, of course, because California sucks. But Gary has left us. He's back in Texas. He's no longer in studio. But he was here to witness his boy getting his ass beat. And I cannot wait to dive into it. Gary, how are you, man?
I'm good.
10 of heart.
After 10 minutes of being in California, thank God I was back in Texas. I missed Texas about 10 minutes after I got off the plane.
You miss me, Gary. Don't lie.
I miss you. It was fun doing the show in studio.
It was. It really was. If only like me, you, and like Foo were in the same area. Only if. And Rob.
Rob
has left us.
Rob's been on the show more recently than Foo.
That is definitely true. Shout out to Rob, man. Hope he's doing well.
The last time Foo was on the show, somebody said they liked the guest host or something like that. Like, oh, he's not really a guest host. I mean.
But Gary, how was the event, man? Obviously, you were there live at the Bank of California Arena in LA. How was the event, man?
The event was good. The venue there is gorgeous. Like, I guess it's a relatively new venue. It was something else, and then yeah, really nice venue. The event was good. It was Golden Boy, so it was a cluster. But besides that,
it always is.
The card was really good. Blair Cobbs was all over the place. Is he from the area? Like, why was Blair Cobbs everywhere?
I don't know, man. He was everywhere. On the telecast, he was everywhere.
And I'm not trying to start a rumor here.
His analysis was actually pretty decent, to be honest, just to give that caveat. But, man, they shoved him down our throats. And it's like, it's Blair Cobbs. Like,
they like him.
They do. They really do.
I'm not trying to start any rumors here. At the weigh-in, he looked pretty cozy with Superbad. I don't know if that's anything. I'm just pointing that out. I don't know. Dude. Allegedly. Not allegedly, I saw it.
Ryan.
That's so unfair to Lenny Kravitz.
The legend that is Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz is so good.
Ryan in the chat saying Blair Cobbs, the Lenny Kravitz of boxing. That's hilarious, first off. But the disrespect on Lenny Kravitz's name. Oh
seriously, Lenny Kravitz is so good.
So talented. But oh my God. I mean, the event itself was entertaining. I mean, it was a golden card. The top 3 or 4 fights were really quality matchups, in my opinion. So I was looking forward to those. The undercard itself, there wasn't a lot of prospects I was hyped on, but there was quality entertainment in terms of violence and such.
Did you see Gregory Morales in the first fight that was on at like noon?
No, I missed that one. I missed like the first 2.
I don't know why they hit him like that. Boy, was that special. He's 20 years old. He's 13-0 now. He put up former world champion. So I guess by the old textbook definition, he's no longer even a prospect. He's a contender because he's being a former world champ, even though that's not really a rule of thumb that we use anymore.
That is true. That's definitely true. Especially like a former world champ that isn't necessarily the best world champ per se, right?
He went the distance with Archinian and then won a vacant belt against No, it wasn't vacant. He lost it and then he had a rematch to beat him again. Who did? Let me look it up.
Guerrero. Gary.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hi. How are you, man?
Yeah, Rodrigo Guerrero. Who did he beat? I mean, this is probably 10 years ago. Raul Martinez. He lost to Raul Martinez. Close. I believe the belt was vacant, and then he went and beat him a couple months later. Yeah, Raul Martinez back in 2011. And Raul Martinez was from San Antonio. So,
Dude, he won an IBF belt. God damn it.
Yeah, he's a legitimate world champion, man.
Yeah, I guess. Whatever. Digressing.
Was that 115 or 118? It was super fly, right? It
was
115.
115.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, he's out of his weight class. That's right at 122 now. But I'm saying, and Gregory Morales absolutely destroyed him. I don't know why they put this on at 12. You know, they put
like a 12-0 prospect. He was one of the better prospects on the card. You feel like they should have probably put him up towards more like where Tanahara was placed, like right around that, fight, probably right before that, I would have done it.
They put Lamont Roach, and Lamont Roach scored another knockout.
Lamont Roach should have been later on the card as well. He should have been after Tanahara.
Lamont Roach looked really good, but the guy Lamont Roach fought was not really good.
No, he wasn't. No. So bad. Shout out to Lamont Roach, second round KO, but did not fight a great opponent, that's for sure. Let's start from the bottom of the card in theory to the top, okay? Because let's be honest, Gary. Everyone that watches the show is here right now for us to talk about Hector Tanahara getting stopped by what was his name again? William Zepeda, who was a really good fighter. I mean, in terms of like what he actually showed us in the ring finally against a quality opponent. I'm excited to see where he goes next. I mean, Zepeda against Ryan Garcia next wouldn't be out of the question for me. I mean, that'd be an entertaining scrap. But Tanahara just struggled. I mean, throughout the fight to establish his range, struggled throughout to really get his lateral movement and defense working. I mean, there was numerous times where I was like yelling at the TV, Gary, me, not a Tanahara fan, yelling at the TV, going, Tanahara, create some space, like jab, like get some distance, tie up, or do something. Because Tanahara routinely was on the inside, just taking blows, taking combinations from Zepeda. The body work of Zepeda clearly, I think, had an effect as well. I mean, he targeted the body early and often. And by round, I would say 2 or 3, it became quite apparent this fight was out of Tanahara's hands, and he was trying to regain it. Gary, I mean, obviously Tanahara was eventually, I think, stopped in the corner, right, by Robert Garcia.
After 6, they stopped the fight. Yeah.
Which I'll be honest, I thought was probably around a good stoppage. I could see him stopping a round sooner, maybe. But
I thought he won the 5th round, so that would have been weird. At first, I thought the stoppage was weird. Like, I mean, he was losing the fight, but he was competitive. He was landing. And then I went back. I just watched it for the first time since, right before the show. I was like, yeah, you have to stop it. I mean, look, his legs were never really with him. His speed wasn't there. You can't even blame it on the heat at that point because it was at like 6 or 7 o'clock, and the sun had already gone down. It's not like when Gregory Morales was fighting it was just brutally hot. Like, so it wasn't that. I just don't. He never looked like he had. I mean, yes, the body work wore him down, but even in the first round, he never really looked like he had the spring in his step. I mean, I don't know if he was overtrained because he was supposed to fight Hipster last year. Then Hipster got food poisoning the day before the fight. Then he was supposed to fight Fortuna, and he got COVID. I don't know if he was overtrained.
What I heard, and this is what I hear, right?
Allegedly,
is that he only went to Robert Garcia 6 weeks before the fight.
Let's get in.
It's enough time still to, I think, have a good enough camp. But it's not a full camp. It's not a full 8-week camp or a 10-week camp or a full 12-week camp for some big fights. Like, it was a shorter camp. That's from what I've heard.
Can we talk about that, right? Because I don't think, and it's not. Obviously, Robert Garcia is a great trainer. Multi-time trainer of the year. He's got how many world champions under his belt. I'm not discrediting Robert Garcia. What I'm saying is I don't think that's the right trainer. Robert Garcia has too many fighters in his stable. He can't possibly spend the requisite amount of time on each fighter because he's got too many fighters. From what I understand is he spends most of his time with Mikey, Ramirez, Virgil, and then when Bam comes in, he spends his time with Bam. And the rest of the guys are with Pito and the other guys. Hector Tanahara originally, years ago when it was on the come up, what I understand was kind of like one of his guys. And then he got, you probably don't know this, but it was on a Golden Boy card. I think it was a Facebook card or something, really early in his career. Hector got dropped. He got up and won every round after that, but he got dropped real early in his career. But I don't even remember who it was. And after that, Robert Garcia kind of, from what I'm understanding, kind of put him in the stable with the rest of the guys who don't really garner much of his attention. And you can see Tanahara, I think, has kind of stalled, right? I don't think that was – what was Tanahara? I mean, look, if Tanahara wasn't – and I didn't get to talk to him after the fight because obviously he was in no mood. And, I'm not close with him like I am with Omar. He's going to let me in the dressing room and talk to me after the fight. So, I don't know. It seemed like from round one, he was never really himself. I don't know if he was sick before the fight, if camp didn't go well, if it was a bad weight cut, if he was overtrained. I don't know what it was. But I don't think that that's in the right camp for him. And I think we should look at other trainers. I think Ronnie Shields is in Texas. I think that would be a good fit. I think
I'll say this. My thoughts on that is that I don't think that's the main issue here. I think that maybe is a compounding factor to what happened on Saturday. Because, for example, like even in between rounds, there was some rounds where like Robert Garcia like wasn't even talking. Right? Like I don't know if you watched this on the telecast, I mean on the playback, if you noticed it, but there were certain rounds. Obviously, we didn't get audio and video of every rest period of Robert Garcia, but there were certain rounds where he should have been saying a lot of instructions or giving some support, and he was dead silent for like a solid 20, 30 seconds. You only have a minute of time here. You're wasting half of that just worried about the incel. So there is a level to that I do think that Robert Garcia maybe is not focusing on Hector Tanahara, that I don't think he really did a great job of cornering in this fight on Saturday, to be quite honest. And again, Robert Garcia, great trainer, but from what I saw, if your fighter's getting beat the fuck up, you should never be quiet in between rounds.
You shouldn't be. Agreed. But I feel like we all knew what Hector had to do. He either wasn't able to do it or wasn't willing to do it, right? But you got to time up on the inside, smother his work, and stay off the ropes. The ropes are on fire. Stay off the ropes. You back's on the ropes, just keep moving.
But as a coach, you can still say that shit. You should be saying that shit.
You should be saying it. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And he wasn't. I forget what round it was where it was a clear as a pet around, and Tanahara got hurt in the round. You can tell he was in survival mode in the round. And the rest, I think it was the fourth or third round. And Robert Garcia is, again, dead quiet, just worried about the swelling. And Tanahara wasn't even that swelled up at that point. I think the main issue here is that Tanahara has certain ceilings to his ability, both athletically, I think especially athletically, and in terms of his boxing ability. And I think that's obviously compounded by his lack of athletic ability, in my opinion. He's not incredibly a fast fighter. He's not incredibly powerful, of course. We've talked about this before. Those athletic issues will definitely show at a certain level of a prospect rising up through the rankings. You can have really solid fundamentals, and we've talked about how Tanahara has great fundamentals for a prospect, especially comparative to other prospects that are higher up than he is in terms of where they're at, right? Like Ryan Garcia, for example, versus Tanahara. Who has better fundamentals? It's Tanahara. Who has capitalized on their abilities more? It's Ryan Garcia at this point in time. I think that is largely due to that lack of athletic ability by Tanahara. Again, he's not incredibly fast. He doesn't have a lot of power. I mean, he was faced with a guy that either had equal speed or more speed than him, had equal cardio or better cardio than him, and had that style to really negate the fundamentals of his craft. Tanahara fell apart. Now, I don't know if that can be fixed with a Ronnie Shields or another trainer like Freddie Roach or whoever. I do think he should try it. I do think
who did Terrell Goucher just go train with? Because
Manny Robles, another trainer.
Manny Robles. That's a weird, but it was weird. Okay, I don't know. I mean, Goucher and Tanahara, not that they have a similar style. There's some similarities there, right?
Absolutely. No, I think that is a good comparison. I mean, both guys, we would say, don't have great athletic ability, good fundamentals, good boxers, don't have a lot of pop either. And Terrell Goucher has looked dynamic since going with Manny Robles, which is quite shocking.
I was thinking him. I was thinking Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill works well with tall fighters. And he's, Tanahara's 5'11". That's tall for that weight class. Those were the three names that I came up with. I said this previously, so this is not the first time. I don't think this is the right camp for Hector Tanahara. You know, I think Robert Garcia is a coach who harps on the fundamentals, right? Like he's a stickler for fundamentals.
Yeah.
I think Hector has that. So, like, it's like preaching to the choir at this point. Now we need to find someone who can maximize his fundamentals and kind of hide his lack of power. I don't think his lack of speed or athleticism is a problem. I just don't think it's not a plus, but I don't think it's.
Do you think it's gonna be a problem at like the highest level?
Look, if he fought Teofimo Lopez or Tank Davis, yeah, it's going to be a problem.
But again, if we're talking about his ceiling, that's the topic of conversation that I have in terms of like the analysis or the framing of this analysis. What is his ceiling? His ceiling is not going to be at that level because of his lack of athletic ability, which equals lack of speed and power. Right? Like he can never beat those top 3 or 4 guys because he just doesn't have that innate athletic ability. And this is an athletic competition. Gary?
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I think given a different game plan, and I don't know, maybe his power doesn't phase him at all, Zepeda at all, and Zepeda would just eat it like, cupcakes. Like, I don't know. I wasn't in there. But to me, Tanahara never looked right. And I think given another camp, given a different game plan, although the game plan was so obvious, I don't know. I think Tanahara could beat this guy. I mean, obviously he didn't show that yesterday on Friday, but he can beat Zepeda.
Imagine somebody like not Zepeda, for example, right? Like somebody that, let's say, is a little more established but has that similar style. Someone we haven't seen in a while, like a Denis Shafikov. Like Tanahara, I think will always have issues with that style.
Because Shafikov is going to be a nightmare for him. Shafikov is a nightmare for guys. If you can't keep and Jamel Herring, you got good fighters, Robert Easter Jr. If you can't keep him off of you, and he's a bull. That's why I always said, don't fight Shafikov. Just go fight someone else. If the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's not like if you beat Shafikov, you're on the pound-for-pound rankings. Don't fight him. I said the same thing about Lipinets. Don't fight Lipinets. Go fight somebody else. I said this was a bad fight when we did the show on Thursday or Wednesday, that this is a bad fight for Tanahara. It's not like if Tanahara would have beat Zepeda 120 to 108, they would have said, oh, he's better than Ryan Garcia now, right? But this was the downside. You said he was going to get Munguia'd. He kind of got Munguia'd.
Dude, I called it, man. I'm just saying, call me a prophet, okay? We have to move on just for the sake of time. Sinisa Estrada beating Tanaka Tsunami and via unanimous decision. I mean, really just dominated her. I mean, beat her in every facet, kind of bullied her throughout the fight. This is one of those fights where I think if we had a full 3 minutes, 12-round fight, we would have got a stoppage at some point.
Maybe from the ref, she wasn't going anywhere. She was got it with everything, and she just said, I mean, if the stoppage was going to come, it was going to be a mercy stoppage from the ref. Like, I've seen enough. Now this is enough. Sinisa Estrada is so good. Like, I guess she's not number 1 pound for pound one fight in the world. She's number 2, right? I guess that's clear because Clarissa Shields is better than everyone. But she is dang near perfect. I mean, she is so sharp and so good, and her footwork is incredible. Like, when you think Katie Taylor is better than her, like on a pound for pound spectrum, I think she beats Katie Taylor, period. Like tomorrow with the 30-pound weight difference. Like, that's how good she is. Like, Katie Taylor's really good. She's fundamentally good compared to Superbad. Like, come on. And I thought Superbad was disrespectful to my girl for Esparza for absolutely no reason. Like, Esparza fought her with, like, how would you even, like, her head was split like some kind of...
She was scalped.
She was scalped. And she fought like that. And then she said she had no heart for quitting. Like, did you see the cut? She fought for an 8. It was stopped after 8 or after 9. It was late in the fight. Yeah. And she fought like that. I thought that was disrespectful. Like, for no reason. Look, it was a good fight. Superbad clearly won the fight, and it got stopped because it was probably worse than the Badu Jack cut. That's how bad it was. Like, if you hadn't seen the fight, it was that bad of a cut. And then, like, why was she disrespectful to Esparza after the fight?
Is Esparza Texan?
Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering why you were so.
But I don't like.
About the disrespect that boxer showed towards another boxer.
She was fighting with her head cut in half. Literally.
Yeah,
Scouts.
and she lost. She'll lose again, Gary.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
I said she clearly lost.
Yeah, she did.
Right? Now, if you're a team of sports, you can say, well, how could she win with a cut like that? So, look, there aren't that many big fights for Estrada, big money fights.
Mm-hmm.
So go fight Esparza again. Like, what's the problem? Beat her. I mean, like, is she going to beat Esparza as much as I love Esparza? Yeah, probably. Right? Like, she's going to. I just said she could beat Katie Taylor with 30 pounds smaller. Yeah, she's a damn near perfect fighter. She would beat Esparza again. But I don't. What other fights really are going to garner much hype for you at 105 or 108 pound women? Like, the big fights aren't there. So go fight Esparza.
Yeah, it's 107 pounds, 108 pounds. Yeah. It's gonna be tough. She's gonna have to come up and weight for some big fights, like Amanda Serrano at a catch weight or something like that, right? It's gonna have something of that nature.
She can fight Bang Bang Lulu. You know who that is?
By the way, Estrada now box rec pound for pound #1 female fighter.
I mean, I guess you can't really say anyone is better than Clarissa Shields until she loses a round.
Guess what number Shields is at?
I don't know. I guess is she behind Jeff Horn?
I looked for a second, Gary. Why?
I got a question for you after this, and don't pick you, but you're gonna love this. But where do they have Clarissa Shields? 6?
5.
Katie Taylor's ahead of her, right?
Yep, at 4. Bersoon at least is ahead of Katie Taylor. Respect there.
Respect. At least they got that right. Because she beat her twice. That's why.
And Amanda Serrano at #2. Michaela Mayer at #6, though. Damn.
I never really believed in Mayer, but I mean, she's looking. She looks good every time she goes out. I think she gets better and better.
She is getting better. Like, that's always the thing I care about with prospects. Are you getting better? That's all I care about. And Tanahara, stagnated. But moving on from that, Gary, we have to get through this card. I do have to get out here at a certain time, unfortunately. Joseph Diaz versus Javier Fortuna. Good back and forth fight. Diaz clearly won the fight and controlled the fight throughout, even though he lost, I would say 3 or 4 rounds. Diaz, though, in terms of this division, I don't know really where he's going to top out at. I could see him losing to a lot of these young guys just because of momentum to a degree, right? But Diaz is clearly that guy that's a dark horse at 135, just like he was at 130 or at 126, right? Like, he was always kind of play that dark horse role in the division. I think he still largely plays that here. Like, I think you give all these guys a tough fight. He might not beat a Loma or Tifima Lopez or Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney, or Tank Davis, but he's going to give them all tough fights. Like, that's the reality.
Again, Tank and Tifima Lopez, I think, are different.
I would include Loma too. Still at this point,
I don't know. I would be surprised if he could beat Loma. I'm not saying he definitely could. He's good. Every time we write him off, he comes back and looks really good. Like, I picked Fortuna to win because I said this guy is not a lightweight. He doesn't like to make weight. I don't think he's dedicated to this. And he's probably a little overrated who handed in a once-in-a-lifetime performance against Tevin. And then I thought he looked spectacular. Like, he closed the show in that fight. And I thought a pretty even fight. After 8 rounds, he came in and sealed the deal dominant fashion against a good fighter who no one really wants to fight. Like, I was really impressed by what Jojo Diaz did. In a weight class I don't think he should be fighting at. But that's for another story. But if he wants to stay at 35, I don't know that he can't beat Loma. I don't know that he can't beat Garcia. I think he beats Haney. I would like to see him fight Zepeda. That'd be a fun fight. But you know what I want to see Zepeda fight?
No, I want JoJo versus Ryan. Marcos in the chat mentioned that. Yeah, I want that fight next. It makes a lot of in-house fight. Why not?
Then can we make Zepeda against Comey? Just these two forces that come together.
Zepeda might win that because he's a better boxer, right? Like,
he's a better boxer, but Comey's a bigger hitter, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like,
okay, so
Zepeda was like beating up Tanahara due to accumulation, right? But
yeah,
Comey has like one punch power, like he legit does, but he's still not that skilled of a boxer. Like he's still
not, like he gets hit a lot, but Zepeda got hit a lot too. It's just that Tanahara didn't have the power to make him pay when he got hit. Tanahara hit with plenty of good shots. It just there wasn't.
Let's be honest, Comey doesn't use a jab.
No, he does not.
He's automatically out of the conversation because he can't set up his power shots. So it's hard. It's really hard. He might beat a lot of these guys just because of his power, right? And his size for the division. But in terms of boxing, he's going to struggle. He struggled against old man Ray Beltran, remember? Because Ray Beltran was just a better boxer than him.
Yeah.
And like he really struggled in that fight. Like there was I remember I think I covered that one live. I did. After the fight, people were kind of confused about who was going to win that one. You know,
Yeah.
Frank in the chat over on Twitch saying Diaz versus Valdez. I mean, if they were in the same division still, I would like that fight, but they're not in the same division, unfortunately.
Diaz wins that fight. If they were, which they're not, Diaz wins that fight. I think Diaz beats Jamel Herring. I think if it went back down to 130, which he said he could do, but the money fights are at 135, so that's where he's going to stay. Right, that's where Ryan Garcia is, and that's an easy fight to make.
Diaz does not beat Valdez. Stop it.
I think he does.
We have the new and improved Valdez. We cannot keep throwing shade on that man's name. I can't. Because, Gary, think about how much I drugged that guy through the mud. Okay? I can't do it anymore. He beat fucking the guy in the division.
He did.
Like, I'm sorry. Sorry. Moving on, the main event of the evening, Gilberto Ramirez versus Solomon Barrera. I mean, Gilberto Ramirez dominated. I mean, beat him up 4th round KO. Body shots really did it. I'm excited to see what's next for him. I mean, I know he called out Dimitri Bivol. I think he might win that fight, to be quite honest, just because he's the more powerful guy. But Better Beef, I think, is going to be a real tough out for him. I'm real excited for that fight as well. Gary, thoughts on the main event? Even though it wasn't that much of a fight.
I thought Barrera was totally shot. He's 39 years old, 40 years old. He had nothing left, and I thought that was obvious. Not to take anything away from Ramirez. Ramirez did exactly what he's supposed to do. Beat him up, got him out relatively, 4 rounds, knocked him down 3 times, did what he had to do. According to BoxRec, Gilberto Ramirez is the number 175-pounder in all the land.
Extra repertoire, who commented on the last show saying, please never spend 30 minutes on a prospect who isn't that good again. Saying, guys, can we now spend another whole segment on Tanahara? This time will be so much more entertaining.
He's got to win over a current world champion.
Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. Extra. In the first half of the first 10, 15 minutes of the show, purely Tanahara conversation. Rewind the show and get all your Tanahara discussion and debate. Trust me, it's worth it. Let's move on from that, Gary, because there's not really much to talk about that main event. The only event of note this weekend coming up is Jamel Charlo. And by the way, we're only covering it today is because I will be gone Thursday and Friday for a wedding. My cousin's getting married. So I guess I have to go. But Jamel Charlo this weekend on, is it Showtime? Yes, Showtime, fighting Brian Castano for the undisputed championship of the world. Gary, me and you have been hyped for this fight for some time. I'm still conflicted about the matchup and who will win. I think Castano has definitely enough to upset the rhythm of Jamel Charlo, get in his face, and apply enough pressure and volume to win rounds, if not hurt him, and win the fight. But, God, Jamel Charlo looked real good against Tony Harrison in a fight that I thought was real competitive as well. I think Tony Harrison deeply underrated. And eventually knocked out Tony Harrison late. I always really value late, fighters carrying power late into a fight as well. It's tough. I think Jamel Charlo is probably the better boxer, better IQ, maybe has the better one-punch power than Castano. But Castano,
at least he knows how to set it up better than Castano does.
Yeah. Absolutely. Castano might just be enough in terms of his style, his pressure to carry the day, but it would be a real tough outing for Castano. So I lean Charlo. I think Charlo does not have to fight a perfect fight as much as Castano. Castano has to fight a perfect, aggressive fight in order to win the fight. I don't think he's really going to knock out Jamel Charlo. Like, he didn't really hurt Patrick Teixeira, and he landed so many shots.
Wasn't Teixeira a bloody mess in that fight?
He was, but he was never really hurt. Like, his face got all cut up, right?
Yeah.
But he was never really hurt. And Teixeira doesn't have the defense, the ability of Jamel Charlo. So I'm leaning Jamel Charlo slightly by decision, close decision, and a really fun back and forth fight. Maybe a little bit slower than I think we might expect it to be quite honest. But I'm excited for this one. I really am. Gary, your thoughts?
This is a 50-50 fight to me, right? And I think it has almost no chance of going the distance because it's gonna. This is, and unfortunately, my best friend's baby, who will be the godfather of, is having a christening. So I will not be in the building in San Antonio, my second city. I will unfortunately not be there. But this is a great fight. This is a 50-50 fight. I think Charlo. I think Charlo's better. I think Charlo.
Gary, for the second, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Okay, so you got the show, Gary. Carry it, man.
I think Charlo's obviously taller and rangier. He uses his jab better, and he's the better defensive fighter, although he has holes defensively. Castano is an offensive machine who's so good offensively. He mixed up head and body shots. He throws really good combination. He's a master on getting on the inside. He's got really good feet. But I think Charlo is more complete offensively and defensively. He's able to fight in all three ranges. And I think there's a good recipe for Charlo to win this fight. It's not to stand in a phone booth with Castano because that's Castano's path to victory. I think, as we've seen, Jamel gets a little too brave sometimes. And I think falls in love with his power a little too much at times. And Castano can crack. And Castano's better on the inside than Charlo is, and Charlo's better on the outside. I think Charlo fights Castano's fight a little bit too much, and Castano stops him late. And a great fight, like a fight of the year type of fight. I think someone's getting stopped in this fight. I don't think it's going the distance. My gut instinct tells me that Charlo either sets something up late and wears Castano down and knocks him out in 8 or 9, or Castano survives that, wears Charlo down and stops him, I think that's a reasonable prediction. I'm going to say I think somebody gets stopped. I'm just not sure. I'm more convinced someone gets stopped than I am that who gets stopped. I'm going to say Castano stops him late, wears him down, and Charlo just exchanges with him too much.
Gary.
He's undisputed, bro.
Have you not learned from the past few weeks? Do not go against my picks. Okay.
Yeah, because apparently Rob says he's got some much better record on me in picking fights. Like, I don't know. It's probably fairly even. I don't know. I never kept the tally. I did pick Italy to beat England. Told you that would happen. I don't even watch soccer.
I don't watch soccer. We had a 50-50 chance, Gary. I mean, that's not like a real tough one to do.
I didn't even watch it. My mom called me when I went to penalty kicks to put it
on. Frank in the chat saying, if Charlo wins, is he top 5 pound? Maybe close.
Want to take Crawford off? If Crawford fights Zepeda, yes, because I'm taking Crawford off my list.
It's definitely possible. Briefly, let's run through the rest of the card. I do have to head over soon, unfortunately. Rolly Romero versus Austin Dulé. Backroom Mutazeliev versus Kiri Gray. Anthony Yiggett is back from his brain injury, so that's a bit concerning. I'll be honest. The Swedish fighter from the World Boxing Super Series tournament, right? Was it Callum Smith that gave him the brain injury?
Yiggett is a 115 pounder.
Oh, so no, he's not.
118?
No, Anthony Yiggett was at 140. Sorry, it was 140, and I think it was Baranchik that maybe gave it to him. I'm trying to remember who it was.
What? No, who am I thinking of?
I don't know. Who are you thinking? This is the Swedish fighter, right?
Oh,
now I have to look it up again, Gary. Jeez.
I don't know who. Okay, yeah, he fought Baranchik. Yeah. Okay. Oh, he's fought 3 times. I mean, not against high-level competition. His last 3 opponents have a combined record of 40 and 17-4.
Still concerning.
Concerning.
I'm interested to see how he goes. I'll say this. Hopefully, there's a lot of medical supervision on this fight, to be quite honest. But digressing, The rest of the card, where is it at again? Sorry, I was went that. Amilcar Vidal, who's a good prospect, finding Emmanuel Alim, good barometer fight, and some other people that I don't know. Gary, any other thoughts on this card?
Those are two really good fights. The Emmanuel Loom fight. How do we say his name?
Amilcar Vidal.
Amilcar Vidal. That guy's got real power. That guy's got for real power. I like it because I think Alim is a good fighter. Vidal beat Eddie Ortiz in his last fight, in a fight that he got outboxed in, and then he landed a shot and the fight was over. Alim is a better athlete. Alim is good. Can Alim survive? Right? I don't know. This is a good. I think Vidal wins because I think Vidal's got Superman power. And then the Austin Dulé fight with Rolly. I like Austin Dulé. I don't know what his problem is. He looks so skilled and so good. All right, he lost to Chris Colbert coming up. Who cares? But then he's got like other fights where he's got another loss. He's got other fights where he just looks like trash. But then he goes out sometimes and he looks like he's got super skills. I want Dulé to win. And this is like my last, I always pick Gallimore, and then Gallimore finally got a win. I'm going to keep picking Dulé to win because I think he's really good. But like, this is kind of his last shot. He better win this fight. I know people like Rolly. I don't see it that much.
No, I don't at all. But he can still beat Austin Dulé, in my opinion.
Because you think Dulé sucks because he's had so many bad fights, yeah. Which is a good reason to think he sucks. But like, he's got so much skill. Like, if you were at the gym, you're like, wow, that guy's really good. And then he gets in the ring, and then he looks awful sometimes. I don't get it.
That happens, man. You got your gym champions instead of real champions. That happens all the time. Liam in the chat saying who you guys got between Zoo versus Harrison. I'm assuming if that fight were to happen. Probably Harrison right now slightly, but that's probably a good step-up fight for him, for Zoo. Tough step-up fight, but that's probably where I want to go next. Gary, for sake of time, let's quickly go through these news topics and then head out of here. Teofimo Lopez and Triller disagree on the sort of rescheduling of the Kambosos fight. Triller wants it to be in Australia in October. And obviously, Lopez, the defending champion, unified champion, undisputed champion, whatever you want to say about it, is being forced to go to Australia by the network. A little bit crazy. I know you want to dive into that, but hold on. Let me just get to the topics, and then you can give your thoughts on all of them. Nevada State Athletic Commission votes not to discipline boxers and MMA fighters for marijuana use finally. Good first step. Obviously, I think this was in direct response to what happened in the Olympics. To
a Texan, by the way.
Oh, is she Texan? I didn't
know. She's from Dallas.
Oh, look at her. Shout out to Texas. And obviously, I don't think we talked about this in the last show. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder postponed due to Fury testing positive for COVID. Let me add the caveat of allegedly, because the story has changed so many times from different reports that I have no idea what to believe. And plus, it's Tyson Fury. No idea. And if this fight gets pushed back past a certain date, I forget which date in September it is, they will have to basically go back into trial over this contract because it has to be fulfilled before a certain date. If it's not fulfilled, then I'm not going to say it's void, but it's the legal parameters here are going to get very funny after a certain date in mid-September. I forget the exact date. Gary, your thoughts on the top 3 news stories of the week so far?
All right. First, Kambosos and Teofimo. Look, if I'm Teofimo Lopez, like, hell no, I'm not going to Australia. What are you, nuts? Absolutely not. I'm a champion. They're all my belts. I'm not going literally to the other side of the planet to go fight him. Absolutely not. On the other hand, they're paying you $100 billion. You'll go where they tell you to go. If you want the $100 billion, you'll go fight him in Australia. You're getting paid just an insane amount of money for this fight. What do you get, $6 million or something like that, right? To fight Kambosos.
Gary, come on. Let's be smart here about boxing. You're going to allow yourself to go to enemy territory with enemy commission.
He's going to knock him out. It's Kambosos. I mean, they can stack the hand against you. He's still Teofimo Lopez, and they're still George Kambosos.
What about the respect of the champion?
I get it, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But also what they're paying him is is so off the charts. Like, I don't know. Do you want the $100 billion that they're paying you? You have to go to Australia to get it.
It's only about $4 million, Gary. Get it
Wasn't
right.
it $6? Or was it $6 million the whole purse? $4 for him and then $1 and change.
Yeah.
Imagine you're getting $1+ million and you get to fight in your backyard.
And your guy that's what, like under 20-0, right? Like he's what, like 15-0, give or take.
And you're gonna get destroyed, right? You're saying like they're gonna take away the fight from him on the cards?
No,
we're not going the distance.
But hey, if you're the unified champion, you're the guy now. I mean, you're thinking they're going to do whatever it takes to try to take my belts from me. On top of it, I'm the champion. I'm the A side. Look at my purse compared to yours. Why the fuck are we going to Australia instead of New York?
I'm with you.
Especially since like Triller and Lou DiBella just announced a whole boxing series at MSG for the fall.
Right?
Like, why not just do MSG for the fight? That's the perfect place if you want to build up Lopez.
The thing is, they have the contract with the Hulu with the theater, not the Garden. I imagine you want to put T.O. in the Garden. Also, I'm sure you could work that out. Like this one fight, they will still honor all those fights, but we want one more fight here at the Garden for T.O. Lopez. I'm sure that's not a problem. I would guess, you have to pick a date where it's not used. I don't see why it makes no sense to me, and it does seem disrespectful. But everyone has a price, and it's like they're paying so much for this fight, right? Like,
his pay is not going to go up because it's in Australia, though.
But the
who's going to think about it? They're making it go to Australia because they're going to sell more tickets in Australia, right?
Yeah,
that's because that's the trend right now in combat sports. Who's going to get a cut of all the ticket sales? It might be the fighters. I don't know their contracts. But the promoters are going to get a large percentage of those ticket sales. If it's at MSG and they sell 5,000 to 10,000 tickets compared to 20,000 plus in Australia, they want to capitalize on the fight instead of worrying about promoting the best possible event. The best possible event for this fight would be an MSG in New York.
Agreed.
It's not Australia. Australia might be a second or third place just because that's the other nationality of the fighter on the card, on the fight, right? So, like, I understand the thought process there, right? But in terms of making the best possible fight experience, which Triller has always talked about, right? That's been their branding. We're going to make the best viewing experience for the sport because all these other networks are archaic in how they present boxing. Well, I mean, this is, I'm not going to say archaic. I'm not saying they're going back to that model, but it just seems lacking in perspective, lacking in real planning to build an event.
I can't believe they didn't suggest it, but like, you paid so much for it, I'll put the fight wherever I want to put it. Look how much I paid for it. I don't know. Like, look, I get both arguments. If he takes it, he's taking it the same reason why everyone else goes to work, for the money. If he says, I am not doing that because that's ridiculous, you're not going to disrespect me like that, I get that too. I get both. I get both outs here. I get both. I understand both trains of thought here. Like, that's so absurd to make him the undisputed champion go to Australia and fight the number one, the mandatory in his backyard. No, not like his backyard is Philly and you're from New York. It's the other side of the planet. I'm not going there. Absolutely not. I get that too.
Also, just to round up the topics, because we do have to head out here, unfortunately. Any other thoughts on the Nevada Commission changing its ruling on marijuana and Fury Wilder being postponed?
Real quick, Fury, and have someone in the chat who's an encyclopedia. Between his 2 title reigns, how many months? How long has Fury? I don't know the answer. How long has Fury been a world champion, and how many title defenses has he made in that time?
Well, he's always been the lineal champion, so he's had title defenses, Gary. I mean, come on.
Of his. What I'm saying.
Come on, that was good. Come on.
Is this is ridiculous with him now? I don't know if he has COVID or not. I don't understand. I think he does, but I don't know. He's been a champion now for a year and a half, and he had another reign where he beat Klitschko, where he never defended his belt either. It's time to strip him, honestly. It's not it's time for him to fight Joshua. It's time for him to strip him. And that's it. He doesn't defend his title. So ever. It's strip him. If you want to go be a world champion again, you go work yourself up through an organization, go get yourself a mandatory spot because you don't defend your title.
It is kind of crazy to be like an almost undisputed champion, and then a unified champion, so a 2-time champion in the heavyweight division without not even a single title defense. Not like he lost the title in a title defense. He's never technically had a title defense. Like, that is pretty crazy, Gary. It's Tyson Fury, man.
And the other thing is I don't want to get into that. That's fine. But you got to fight somebody, right? Like, if you're not going to fight, fine. This is the second time you've done it where you've had this long title reign, but you've never actually defended your title. I get Jack Dempsey used to do it too. Okay, fine. That was 100 years ago. Like, that's not really the format of things anymore.
I absolutely echo that, Gary. Unfortunately, we have to call this show a little bit early and head out of here. Be back on next week for MCR topics. I also did a show earlier today on Trending Now Network for our General Strike podcast show and talked about the Haitian assassination against the president there, the recent Cuban protests, anti-state protests that happened yesterday, and a lot of other topics. So go check that out. You can check it out also on our main page on YouTube for Mixed Combo Radio. It's near the top. Remember, at all times, guys, hold on that. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Patreon.com/Trending Now Network if you want to support the channel in any financial way. Gary, final thoughts.
First, go to Texas Boxing, a whole bunch of new content from an interview with Hector Tadahar pre-fight. I didn't talk to him post-fight. I talked to Greg Morales post and pre-fight. So ton of new content, guys. Please subscribe to that channel. Please share it with a friend. Help me get this thing monetized as quickly as possible. All proceeds go to autism research and recovery. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. Find me off on social media, 3D Boxing, 3D Boxing blog. Ivan Calderon is still not in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Let's make that change. Let's get the Iron Boy in. Texas is still not a country again. Let's make Texas a country again. From Texas to the world, thank you, and God bless.
And remember, at all times, fuck the police and free Palestine. Peace.